I don't know about everybody else, but outside of like Roman, Seth, and Punk, outside of Cena and Cody, and outside of probably Rhea, Bianca, and Io, Bianca, and Rhea, something just is missing from me from this WrestleMania build. I don't know how y'all feel, but it's something's not connecting with all the builds, and I see a lot of like logic holes and issues with a couple of the builds to WrestleMania so far. But let's hear from Cam. What did you think about SmackDown show last night overall, and what do you think about what I'm saying here about something is just missing or not hitting with the WrestleMania build to me?
I thought SmackDown was solid. It's nice to see, Street Profits back in position. It's nice to see like them doing something, with Jade. It's hot, cold, on again, off again. I think Naomi is just a pro's pro at this point. Again, we have parallels with her and Cena just being face forever, and you just know, wow, you had this in you, like you have this thing. With gear, they're always forward thinking. So, like again, the Owen Hart tribute, the caution because busted you up on a car, I thought was great. But to get to the point, like you said, as individual talents, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and CM Punk are some of the very best that have ever come through WWE. WWE has this very unique problem where they stumbled on like 10 main eventers. There are and not to list them all, but you have those three guys, you have Cody, you have a Drew, you have a Damian Priest, you have John Cena, you have Randy Orton, you have Kevin Owens, you have Sami Zayn, you turn Jey Uso into a main eventer, you have Gunther. There's so many people there at the top that with past WrestleMania builds, you were really intrigued about matchups, but you weren't thinking about everybody kind of existing on the same level. So there's not, like you said, like SP3, there's very clear main events that you're excited about, but like everything else, we're so used to having levels that having this embarrassment of riches is kind of hard to really lock in and focus. And I think, like you said, the Charlotte Tiffany Stratton thing. I interviewed Tiffany Stratton going into Great American Bash 2023, and Charlotte was the name of who she wanted to face. I think WWE's issue is they don't know what they want Charlotte to be. Is she, based on range, based on name, based on ability, is she the best women's wrestler you've ever had? Is she the standard bearer? Because Tiffany's the champion. Tiffany's been great. Tiffany's still very young. She's still figuring it out, but they don't know if they want it to be Rock and Hogan or if they want it to be Rock and Austin. It's not defined what they're supposed to be to each other, so it makes it kind of difficult. The match is going to be good, but yeah, they again, with so many people in such high positions, you almost are forced to define things down to make the big stuff stand out. I don't think they've figured out how to do that this season.
Yeah, I said it on Twitter yesterday after this Charlotte and Tiffy segment. I was like, I remember when Luka Doncic got traded to the Lakers, and we basically heard the same thing from analysts that they said when LeBron went to Miami. It was like, how is these two ball-dominant players supposed to work together? And of course, they were wrong, those analysts, because LeBron is not really, he's a good passer. But I feel like we have two ball-dominant players in Tiffany and Charlotte. And Charlotte, it's just not... It ain't working as well as it should. But Josh, what did you think about SmackDown last night, and what do you think about the whole kind of overarching issues, which I think that Cam kind of put it in a more elegant way than I did. It just I don't know, it's just not connecting for me too much outside of like those main three programs.
Overall, I felt like SmackDown was all right. I'm still trying to get used to the 3 hours. That's basically my biggest thing for SmackDown. It's just
we're not gonna get used to it. That's the problem.
With SmackDown, I'm saying because with Raw, I got used to it. Like Raw, right. it became like kind of normal, and at least with Raw, they had like the roster to kind of like balance it out in a way, right? But with SmackDown, it's kind of like those first 2 hours go, and then when you realize it's a third hour, it's kind of like feels like you're in a marathon. Like it's just like, oh shit, we got like 1 more hour to go. So it kind of just feels like you have to like really brace yourself when it comes to that. But I do feel like the crowd did help. It was a great crowd. I felt like it made the show watchable for the most part. But then like when we were talking about like the Tiffany and Charlotte thing, you know, there's like this discourse online about like who won and who. I thought the segment was not good, no matter what. I think Charlotte won by default, but it didn't do Tiffany any favors, and that's how I feel about it. But overall, like what you've been saying about WrestleMania season itself, I think the biggest factor, at least to me, my opinion, this is how I feel, is The Rock's involvement. I think that was the biggest kind of thing where we kind of felt like, oh, The Rock is going to be part of WrestleMania 41 and he's going to wrestle. Once that kind of came out the equation, we kind of saw like the difference. Like, I don't want to say like it went like downhill or nosedive, but the feeling was a lot different once we found out The Rock is not going to be involved. And I think he's a main factor to that.
Yeah, because when he came back for that SmackDown, even though the segment was weird with Cody, it did feel like it was WrestleMania season again. It felt like there was, we're on the way, and then he was part of the big heel turn with John Cena. But it really feels like they're kind of trying to check a lot of different boxes, because at the same time they're building WrestleMania, they want to have celebrities be part of it. They always want to have a celebrity in the crowd. I mean, also having stuff with what's this guy's name? Hitchcliff, the roast thing, that, and
that
then
sounds
the
so
Andrew
stupid.
No, honestly,
Madison Square Garden segment, like I'm just like, what are we doing? Like, we have Macaulay Culkin right there.
Literally, like in the palm of your hand, you had so many people that you could choose from, and you choose them.
I was hoping that thing wasn't legit, and then once they actually made the announcement, I was like, oh my god, guys, what are you doing right now?
You know what's going to help WrestleMania? All right, like comedians.
Yes.
That's what the crowd wants.
Do it. This was a man who made Ric Flair leave his roast because he brought up his son. Like, what are you guys doing?
I was explaining this to somebody. Matter of fact, I was on In the Weeds yesterday, and like, you know, Kill Tony is like here in Austin. The Comedy Mothership is downtown on 6th Street, and like I do everything I can to avoid these people. And they just won't go away. Like they just won't. I stay away from downtown because I don't want to see you, and now like I have no choice. And I can't wait till these WrestleMania media credentials drop, because whenever you get the form, like you check off all the things you want to go to. I can't wait to not check off that roast. And I hope they have like a comment section. How dare you? Exactly, Nikki boy. Like nah. And like it's his idea. He presented the idea, hey, why don't you guys roast me after WrestleMania? For what? For who? For why?
Yeah, it's like, are you sure it's going to be over at 10:30? Like, are you certain that it's going to be over at that time? Like, how? Like,
but when that came out that it wasn't WWE idea, it was his idea. I was like, why are we catering to the worst celebrities?
Yep.
Krssi, what did you think overall about SmackDown, and in particular, a lot of people talking about the Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair down? I agree with what Josh said. Like, yeah, if you had to pick one, who won, it was obviously Charlotte, because she kept talking over Tiffany, and Tiffany was like stumbling and mumbling over. And I love Tiffany. And I think that when the bell rings, she plays an effective babyface. But I don't think they've figured out, as far as creative and herself, how to be that same babyface character when she's talking and speaking in these like sit down interviews.
Absolutely
correct. Like a rookie.
Yeah, I personally think they did this whole Charlotte Tiffany thing too early. I think that's where the ball got dropped, because they was like, okay, your first person is gonna be Tiffany Stratton. I don't think that should have been the case. And that's why you're seeing it in the product right now. I could have done without this whole interview part. I could have done without that whole segment, to be honest. Like, we didn't really need it. Like, I feel like they're forcing it to us, and I think that's where it's falling in between the cracks, because you're forcing it to us. It's not happening authentically like other feuds that are happening, but with other people. Street Profits, I'm so happy that they're back on top where they belong. This is great for them. We've been saying this for a while, at least myself, because they got lost in the shuffle and they didn't know what to do with them. And now that they have this like whole different attitude, this is great for them. I hope they have them with these belts for a little while. And overall, the crowd was great. These over the European tour thing, I like when they bring them over there because they don't get to see this, and they give like all of their everything when you watching it. So that makes you like enjoy the show. That's all I got to say.
Real quick, if I could just jump in, just to go along with what you were saying, I'm just reminded at how valuable Bailey is, man.
Oh my God, yo!
Like, somebody who can just work with everybody.
Yes.
And never seems out of place. She can work with people above her, people below her. And that's not a knock like on a Charlotte or anybody, but man, it is a special talent just to be able to find that thing with everybody and make it work.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. And her not having like a major kind of role in the WrestleMania build is an issue as well for me. Like, because she's gonna probably wind up in some multi-woman matchup for the Intercontinental title, or kind of like a heatless one-on-one matchup with Lyra Valkyria, because they haven't invested any time in it. And like last year's WrestleMania, like a lot of the focus, of course, was on Cody finishing his story and Cody versus Roman and Rock, but the Sami Zayn and Gunther stuff, that was great. The Bailey and Io Sky, the early portion when Damage Control turned on Bailey, that was a lot of fun. That was interesting stuff. Rhea and Becky Lynch, two major stars going at it on WrestleMania stage. That had a great build. There was other stuff like outside of like the main picture, and even with the Rhea, Io, and Bianca, I like it because it's three over talents, and I know the match is gonna cook, but y'all kind of made Rhea Ripley from a badass to kind of just whining about losing instead of like having a clear direction, and we don't know how it's going to make sense for her to be in this triple threat at this point, other than her signing a contract that didn't have her name on it, and that's not how contracts work.
I hated that part of it. Like, why would you do this to this person that you build up so dominantly? Now she's like bogarting her way to be at a match. Like, what? Rhea Ripley would do some stupid shit like that. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? You making her look like the sides instead of the main dish.
And I also did another.
I don't know.
I saw another good point is that you really only feel like this feeling that WrestleMania build is not hitting after SmackDown. I think there's something about Raw being on Netflix, and especially the unpredictability of how long the show is going to be. Sometimes it's 2 hours, sometimes it's 2.5. This week it was 2 hours and 20 minutes. It makes it interesting to watch because you don't know when the end of the show is going to come.
Yeah,
I saw Care when they were hyped, when they played the video package. I saw you tweet out like, "Oh shit, it's only going to be a less than 2 hour."
Bro, I was so hyped. Even the 220 didn't bother me. I was like, "Dog, wasn't it?" It was like. It was live during the day. It was live at like 2 or 3 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
It's spring break, so I was at the crib, boy. I had a drink in my hand. Like, this is incredible. I love this. And like, even when again, that there is, I think, that 2 to 2.5 hour sweet spot. It really does work because we've all been in wrestling crowds. We've all watched with our friends, and you start to look at that clock. When you get towards the end of the show, you expect to finish. And like, that little bit of unpredictability, I do like that. But like my man said, 3 hour SmackDown on a Friday night. I'm gonna
on a Friday.
it's
on Fridays of all days. Friday is about to be the summer. Like, ain't nobody got time for that shit.
It is drain. It's taxing. And again, it's you hate to say that about people you like doing a thing.
Yes.
But, man. We built this city. Little kids singing. It's just
still going. They still go. You about to do another song? I'm like Kingpin watching SmackDown. I'm like, no, I gotta go.
Yeah. Man, I was at an event last night and I was just like tuning in here and there as I could, like if I could even hear it. I was like, okay, I don't need to see this part. It's great. I can put my phone down. Like, okay, what's next? Like, it's that part is that show now, and it's so sad because I used to love when SmackDown was on UPN. That was like the better show.
Yeah.
At one point, it was the better show, and I don't understand how we got to this point.
Even when, because the main issue is that it's not a 3-hour show. It's a 2-hour show that they're stretching to be 3 hours.
3 hours.
Like something like Zelina Vega and Piper Niven, who had a fine matchup, but it would have been a good 5 to 6 minute match on a 2-hour show, and it's stretched to be 13 minutes, and it's just fine. It's just fine because they're stretching everything out unnecessarily because it's a 2-hour basically roster for SmackDown that they're now stretching to get an extra hour at, and it hurts the overall product for sure.